happy mercoledì moment di dicembre. The month of December is here with us. This is the 6th of December, the feast of St. Nicholas of Bari, Myrna, bishop, and great forerunner of what we now know as Santa Claus during this Christmas season. We have the relics of St. Nicholas here, dating way back to the 1800s from Bari, and today we honor St. Nicholas, and we honor also my middle name day. My grandfather's name was Nicola, and my mother didn't like him too much, so she decided not to call me by my first name as his first name, so she gave me it as my middle name. I suppose they argued that, my father and my mother argued it. But I'm Richard Nicholas Fragomeni, so blessings on St. Nicholas Day, the great, wonderful patron of Bari, and certainly the great saint that we honor as Santa Claus during these holidays, this Christmas time. So what I'd like to share with you is not so much about St. Nicholas, but what's going to happen in 2 days from now, which is the 8th of December, the Solemnity of the Immaculate Conception. We celebrate that feast here in the United States as a national solemnity because Mary, the Immaculate Conception, is the patroness of the United States of America. And if you've ever been to Washington, and I lived there for 5 years doing doctoral studies, there is the National Basilica Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, which is a very elegant church. We probably can fit about 10 of our shrines in there. It's dedicated to the Immaculate Conception. It's a big word. I'd like to spend this Mercoledì moment with you just kind of talking about what this word meant. So, as I place the relics of St. Nicholas on the altar, what's the Immaculate Conception? The Immaculate Conception is a doctrine that was developed through the centuries and finally proclaimed a doctrine of the Church way back in 1854 by Pope Pius IX. He declares it a doctrine of faith that from the very moment of her conception, Mary was immaculately conceived. She was not like all the rest of humanity, stained by the sin of Adam and Eve. She was free from sin from the very moment of her conception. That's a very interesting doctrine because it basically said that God, and here's the fancy word for today, by prevenient grace. In fact, we use that during the Mass, and none of my students, they don't understand what that is. Prevenient grace means that God foreknew that Mary would be the mother of Jesus Christ, that God decided to have Mary born immaculately, without the stain of sin, and therefore would be the worthy mother of the Son of God, Jesus Christ. Prevenient grace, God's pre-knowledge of Mary, and by grace has freed her so that she was born immaculately. What does that mean? Immaculate conception. Well, the word immaculate means pure. It means pure, like no impurities, no additives, no other characteristics, except when something is pure, it's 100% pure. It's flawless. So she was conceived pure, meaning, like if you would, and I heard this once from one of my colleagues years ago, like Mary, immaculate means pure, like 100% pure chocolate, or 100% pure dark chocolate. There's nothing added to it. It's 100% pure. So Mary was 100% pure human. She was born the way the original parents were born. Adam and Eve were born pure before their sin. She was born like Eve, and that's why we call Mary the new Eve, and Christ, her son, the new Adam. In the medieval times, they'd love to play with the word Eva, E-V-A, and flip it around to A-V-E, which is Ave, like Ave Maria. So Mary was born 100% pure human without any stain of sin, original sin, the tendency we're all born with, the tendency to be less than human, less than 100% pure human, to be people who live in the old humanity, if you would, to live in sin and destruction. And we see what original sin looks like, what the old humanity is. We see it in war and violence and racism and street killings and in political intrigues, in tensions, in generational grudges among peoples. We see all this old humanity. Well, picture it. Mary was born 100% immaculate, pure human, the way God made humans. And how was that? In the image and likeness of God. So Mary, if you would, is the new humanity displayed. And when we look at Mary, we see what Adam and Eve looked like before they took that fruit, that apple. And what do we find in Mary? This immaculate, pure, 100% human being in the divine image. We see one central characteristic which is so flawed in all of us. She lived no longer for herself, but she lived in the will of God. The angel said you were going to have a child, and she said, "Let it be done to me according to your will," the will of God. She lived without ego. She lived without a sense of selfish pride. She lived knowing that in beauty and in terror, she would keep on going because she was in the presence and she held the hand of God. And she realized that nothing here on earth was lasting, and she lived freely, 100% immaculately human, as an image and a reflection of God, and gave birth to the presence of God, to Christ. And what does that mean for all of us? Well, we're not born 100% human. We're born disheveled. We're born into a world that is dehumanized by all of the sins that we see in the newspapers. We don't live 100% humanly. However, in Christ, the new Adam, and in Mary, the patroness of the church, in Mary, the exemplar of the new humanity, we have been baptized so that we were immaculately reconceived in baptism and are freed from all of the tanglements of sin, original sin, so that we might live in the freedom of God's children, and like Mary, live no longer for ourselves, but for the one who has freed us in grace in Christ. And can you imagine what this world would be like if we all lived with a new humanity, with the willingness to realize that thy will be done, and to live in God's will. And the will of God is simple. The will of God is love, demonstrated in humble service, finding our greatest pleasure, like Jesus, the new Adam, in washing the feet of his disciples. So we honor Mary today. Immaculate, 100% human, may she inspire us on our journey of being renewed, so that at Christmas time, in just a few weeks, like she gave birth to Christ, may we give birth to Christ in our new humanity, made whole in the Spirit, made whole for the glory of God, made whole for the betterment of our humanity and our world in 2024. Happy Miracle moment, and may Our Lady intercede for us, and may St. Nicholas always make us generous. Is that good enough?
Yes.
Oh, the relic came out. Oh no. I can't believe this. Poor St. Nicholas. Sorry, St. Nicholas. Isn't that amazing? This is another one of those bloopers, right?
It is now.
Talk about blooper. All right, now let's see how we're gonna do this. Oh, shut it off.